Hey viewers, welcome back to another reading session. It's 20th of July, 20th of June 2026 and it's currently 9:27 p.m. Mm, So, as you all might know from our previous videos, we are reading the book The Alchemist. We read up to page number 32. We have to start from page number 32. This one. Sorry. This one right here. Where is it? We read up to here. We have to start from there. It's a nice book. I would definitely recommend this book up until now. Up until what I have read, but what I have read, it's pretty good. It's not psychological, it's philosophical. It's a philosophical book, and it has many philosophical concepts like the Abrahamic side of things. Like this book mentions Abraham and the old king. What was his name? Melchizedek, and that, yeah, all that. Let's start without any further delay. Yeah, so the last day we read this book, the king was seeing the boy sail towards Africa as promised by him to find the treasure in the Egypt. So we'll start. Let's start the timer for 21 minutes and how strange Africa is, thought the boy. He was sitting he was sitting in a bar, very much like the other bars he had seen along the narrow streets of Tangier. Some men were smoking from a gigantic pipe they passed from one to other. In just few hours he had seen men walking hand in hand, women with their faces covered, and priests that climbed to the tops of towers and chanted, as everyone about him went to their knees and placed their foreheads on the ground. A practice of infidels, he said to himself. As a child in church, he always looked at the image of Saint Santiago Matamoros on his white horse, his sword unleashed, and figures such as these kneeling at his feet. The boy felt ill and terribly alone. The infidels had an evil book about them. Besides this, in the rush of his travels, he had forgotten just one detail which could keep him from his treasure for a long time. Only Arabic was spoken in this country. The owner of the bar approached him, and the boy pointed to a drink that had been served at the next table. It turned out to be a bitter tea. The boy preferred wine, but he didn't need to worry about that right now. What he had to be concerned was his treasure, and how he was going to get and how he was going to go about getting it. The sale of his sheep had left him with in his pouch, in his pouch, and the boy knew that in money there was magic. Whoever has money is near as is never really alone. Before long, maybe in just a few days, he would be at the pyramids. he would be at the pyramids. The old man with a breastplate of gold wouldn't have lied just to acquire sick sheep. The old man had spoken about signs and omens, and as the boy was crossing the strait, he had thought about omens. Yes, the old man had known what he was talking about. During the time the boy had spent on the fields of Andalusia, he had become used to learning which path he should take by observing the ground and the sky. He had discovered that the presence of a certain bird meant that a snake was nearby, and that a certain shrub was a sign that there was water in the area. The sheep had taught him that. The sheep had taught him that. If God leads the sheep so well, he would also lead a man, he thought, and that made him feel better. The tea seemed less bitter. Who are you? He heard a voice Ask him in Spanish. The boy was relieved. He was thinking about omens, and someone had appeared. How come you speak Spanish? He asked. The new arrival was a young man in western dress, but the color of his skin suggested he was from the city. He was about the same age and height as the boy. Almost everyone here speaks Spanish. We are only 2 hours away from Spain. Sit down and let me treat you to something, said the boy, and ask for a glass of wine for me. I hate this tea. There is no wine in this country, the young man said. The religion here forbids it. The boy told him that then he needed to get to the pyramids. The boy told him then that he needed to get to the pyramids. He almost began to tell about his treasure, but decided not to do so. If he did, it was possible that the Arab would want some part of it as payment for taking him there. He remembered that the old man had said about offering something you don't even have yet. I would like you to take me there, if you can. I can pay you to serve me as my guide. Do you have any idea how to get there? The newcomer asked. The boy noticed that the owner of the bar stood nearby, listening attentively to their conversation. He felt uneasy at the man's presence, but he had found a guide and didn't want to miss out on an opportunity. You have to cross the entire Sahara Desert, said the young man, and to do that you need money. I need to know whether you have enough. The boy thought it a strange question, but he trusted in the old man, who had said, when you really want something, the universe always conspires in your favor. He took his money from his pouch and showed it to the young man. The owner of the bar came over and looked as well. The two men exchanged some words in Arabic, and the bar owner seemed irritated. Let's get out of here, said the new arrival. He wants to leave. The boy was relieved. He got up to pay the bill, but the owner grabbed him and began to speak to him in an angry stream of words. The boy was strong and wanted to retaliate, but he was in a foreign country. His new friend pushed the owner aside and pulled the boy outside with him. He wanted your money, he said. Tangier is not like the rest of Africa. This is a port, and every port has its thieves. The boy trusted his new friend. He had helped him out. He had helped him out in a dangerous situation. He took out his money and counted it. We could get to the pyramids by tomorrow, said the other, taking the money. But I have to buy 2 camels. They walked together through the narrow streets of Tangier. Everywhere there were stalls with items for sale. They reached the center of a large plaza where the market was held. There were thousands of people there. arguing, selling, and buying vegetables for sale among selling and buying vegetables for sale amongst daggers and carpets displayed alongside tobacco. But the boy never took his eye off his new friend. After all, he had all his money. He thought about asking him to give it back, but decided that it would be unfriendly. He knew nothing about the customs of the strange land he was in. I'll just watch him, he said to himself. He knew he was stronger than his friend. Suddenly, there in the midst of the confusion, he saw the most beautiful sword he had ever seen. The scabbard was embedded in silver, and the handle was black and encrusted with precious stone. The boy promised himself that when he returned from Egypt he would buy that sword. Asked the owner of the stall how much the sword cost, he said to his friend. Then he realized that he had been distracted for a few moments looking at the sword. His heart squeezed, as if his chest had suddenly compressed it. He was afraid to look around because he knew that what he would find, confused what he would find. He continued to look at the beautiful sword for a bit longer, until he summoned the courage to look around. All around him was the market with people coming and going, shouting and buying, and the aroma of strange foods. But nowhere could he find his new companion. The boy wanted to believe that his friend had simply become separated from him by accident. He decided to stay right there and waited his return. As he waited, a priest climbed to the top of a nearby tower and began his chant. Everyone in the market fell to their knees, touched their foreheads on the ground, and took up chant. Then, like a colony of worker ants, they dismantled their stalls and left. The sun began its departure as well. The boy watched it through its trajectory for some time. The boy watched it through its trajectory for some time until it was hidden behind the white houses surrounding the plaza. He recalled that the sun had risen that morning. He was on that he was he recalled that when the sun had risen that morning he was on another continent, still a shepherd with 60 sheep, and looking forward to meeting with a girl. That morning he had known everything that was going to happen to him. As he walked through the familiar fields. But now the sun began to set. And he was in a different country, and a stranger in a strange land, as a stranger in a strange land where he couldn't even speak the language. He was no longer a shepherd, and he had nothing, not even the money to return and start everything over. All this happened between sunrise and sunset, the boy thought. He was feeling sorry for himself and lamenting the fact that his life could have changed so suddenly and so drastically. He was so ashamed that he wanted to cry. He had never even wept in front of his own sheep. But the marketplace was empty and he was far from home. So he wept. He wept because God was unfair, and because this was the way God repaid those who believed in their dreams. And I had my sheep. When I had my sheep, I was happy, and I made those around me happy. People saw me coming and welcomed me, he thought. But now I am sad and alone. I am going to become bitter and distrustful of people because one person betrayed me. I am going to hate those who have found their treasure because I have never found mine. And I am going to hold on to whatever little I have because I am too insignificant to conquer the world. He opened his pouch to see what was left of his possessions. Maybe there was a bit left. There was a bit left of the sandwich he had eaten in the ship. But all he found was a heavy book, his jacket, and 2 stones the old man had given him. As he looked at the stones, he felt relieved for some reason. He had exchanged 6 sheep for 2 precious stones that had been taken from a gold breastplate. He could sell the stones and buy a return ticket. This time I'll be smarter, and the boy thought, removing them from the pouch so he could put them in his pocket. This was a port town, and only and the only truthful thing his friend had told him was that port towns are full of thieves. Now he understood why the owner of the bar had been so upset. He was trying to tell him not to trust the man. I'm like everyone else. I see the world in terms of what I would like to see happen, not what actually does. He ran his finger slowly over the stones, sensing their temperature and feeling their surface. They were his treasure. Just handling them made him feel better. They reminded him of the old man. When you want something, all the universe conspires and in helping you achieve it, he had said. The boy was trying to understand the truth of what the old man had once said. Old man had said. There he was in the empty marketplace without a cent to his name, and with not a sheep to guard through the night, but the stones were the proof that he had met with a king who knew the boy's past. They are called Urim and Thummim, Thummim, and they can help you read the omens. The boy put the stones back in the pouch and decided to do an experiment. The old man had said to ask very clear questions, and to do that, the boy had to know what he wanted. So he asked if the old man's blessing was still with him. He took out one of the stones. It was yes. Am I going to find my treasure? He asked. He stuck his hand into the pouch and felt around for one of the stone. As he did so, both of them pushed through a hole in the pouch and fell on the ground. The boy had never even noticed there was a hole. There was a hole in his pouch. He knelt down to find Urim and Thummim and put them back in the pouch. But as he saw them lying there on the ground, another phrase came to his mind. Learn to recognize omens and follow them, the old king had said. An omen. The boy smiled to himself. He picked up stones and put them back in his pouch. He didn't consider mending the hole. The stone could fall through any time they wanted. He had learned that there were certain things one shouldn't ask about, so as not to flee from one's own destiny. I promised that I wouldn't make my own decision, he said to himself. Promised that I would make my own decisions, he said to himself. But the stones had told him that the old man was still with him, and that made him feel more confident. He looked around at the empty plaza again, feeling less desperate than before. He wasn't in a strange place, it was a new one. After all, what he had always wanted was just that, to know new places. Even if he never got to the pyramids, he had already traveled farther than any shepherd he knew. Oh, if he could only knew how different things are, just 2 hours by ship from where they are, he thought. Although his new world at the moment was an empty marketplace, he had already seen it with its when it was teeming with life, and he never and he would never forget it. He remembered this word. It hurt him a bit to think about it, but he had never seen one like it before. As he mused about these things, he realized that he had to choose between thinking of himself as the poor victim of a thief and as an adventurer in quest of his treasure. "I'm an adventurer looking for treasure," he said to himself. He was shaken into wakefulness by someone. He had fallen asleep in the middle of the marketplace, and life in the plaza was about to resume. Looking around, he sought his sheep and realized that there was in a looking around realized he was in a new world, but instead of being saddened, he was happy. He no longer had to seek out food and water for the sheep. He could go in search of his treasure. Instead, he had not a cent in his pocket, but he had faith. He had decided the night before that he would be as much an adventurer as the one he had admired in books. He walked slowly through the market. The merchants were assembling their stalls, and the boy helped a candy seller to do his. The candy seller had a smile on his face. He was happy, aware of what his life was. He was happy, aware of what his life was about, and ready to begin a day's work. He smiled. His smile reminded the boy of the old man, the mysterious old king he had met. The candy merchant isn't making candy so that he later so that isn't making candy so that he can later travel or marry a shopkeeper's daughter. He's doing it because it's what he wants to do. Though the boy thought the boy, he realized that he could do the same thing the old man had done. Sense whether a person was near or far from his destiny just by looking at them. It's easy, and yet I have never done it before, he thought. When the stall was assembled, the candy seller offered the boy the first sweet he had made for the day. The boy thanked him, ate it, and went on his way. When he had gone only a short distance, he realized that while they were erecting the stall, one of them had spoken Arabic and the other Spanish, and they understood each other perfectly well. There must be a language that doesn't depend on words, the boy thought. I've already had the experience with my sheep, and now it's happening with people. He was learning a lot of new things. Some of them weren't really new, but that he had never perceived before, and he hadn't perceived them he had to become accustomed because he had become accustomed to them. He realized, if I can learn to understand this language without words, I can learn to understand the world. Relaxed and unhurried, he resolved that he would walk through the narrow streets of Tangier only in that way. Okay, the timer is up, guys. Only that way would he be able to read the omens. He knew it would require a lot of patience, but shepherds know all about patience. Once again he saw that in that strange land he was applying the same lessons he had learned with his sheep. All things are one, the old man said. Okay, guys, we read up to page number 42, and I think that's it for today. It was a nice read today, but the day before was a little bit more exciting because there was a lot of things happening. What happened today with the boy was expected. I expected him to get scammed or get, what do we call, what is it when a person gets when a person is robbed. I hope that I didn't hope. I knew that he would get robbed because it was a new place and he found a new friend. It could have gone both ways, but I thought that he would get scammed or robbed, which he did. I don't know what will happen later on. Whether he would find that the the other boy, new boy, was actually his friend, or was he really a thief? I think he was a thief. Otherwise, he would have arrived by the next day, but he didn't. So let's see what happens. Today's wasn't packed with adventure, not adventure, action, but it was a good read. So that's it for today, guys. I'll see you guys in next reading session. Until then, goodbye.